This is Yuri Bezmenov. Yuri Bezmenov is a former KGB agent. That's Soviet Russia's version of the CIA. Yuri risked death and escaped Russia in the 60s, eventually making it to the United States, where he warned of Russia's true method to destroy the United States. Surprising to all and ignored by history was Russia's aim to never take down the West militarily. Russia's true aim was to fundamentally transform America into a Soviet-style, tyrannical socialist state. They would accomplish this over time by ideologically subverting the population, by influencing opinion makers, who then go ahead and influence the public. Let's hear about the plot directly from Yuri's mouth.
Another area of activity when I was working for the Novosti was to accompany groups of so-called progressive intellectuals, writers, journalists, publishers, teachers, professors of colleges. You can see me here in Kremlin. I'm second on the left, with a group of Pakistani and Indian intellectuals. Most of them pretended they don't understand that we are actually working on behalf of the Soviet government and the KGB. They pretended that they are actually being guests, VIP intellectuals, that they are treated according to their merits and their intellectual abilities. For us, they were just a bunch of political prostitutes to be taken advantage for various propaganda operations.
This is Bernie Sanders. Many people don't know that Bernie Sanders spent his honeymoon in Soviet Russia in 1983. Yes, right in the middle of the Cold War. Yes, while millions of people were being disappeared into gulags never to be seen again, Bernie thought this hellscape, this largest prison on earth, was the perfect place to spend his honeymoon. But not because he wanted to change the culture of this place. Bernie visited this place because he admires this place.
Actually, even before they arrived to USSR, and they paid astronomical sum of money for that visit, they were submitted, this Novosti Press Agency developed so-called backgrounders, 20-25 pages of information and opinions, which were presented to the journalists even before they bought their tickets to Moscow. They had to analyze the situation, and judging on their reaction to that backgrounder, the local Novosti representative or local Soviet diplomat in Washington, D.C. would assess whether they be given visa to USSR or not.
But they were selected ahead of time.
Yes, they were pre-selected very carefully, and there is not much chance for honest journalists to arrive to USSR and to stay there for 1 year and to bring this package of lies back home.
Bernie Sanders, then mayor of Burlington, Vermont, was pre-selected by the USSR because of his open praise of the state socialist model. He formed a sister city program between Burlington and Yaroslavl, which is a suburb 130 miles outside of Moscow. This sister city program served as the ruse Bernie used to travel there on the public dime days after getting married.
Pay special attention to the number of bottles on the table. This is one of the ways to kill the awareness or curiosity of foreign journalists. One of my functions was to keep foreign guests permanently intoxicated the moment they land at Moscow airport.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tradition. When people sit at the same table at the party, and one side of the table starts singing a song. When they finish it, the other side has to sing their own song.
What are we going to sing?
As director said, added to Victor's words, today, the distinctive feature of our economy is competition.
Look at all that booze on the table, just like Bezmenov said. They go on to drunkenly sing "This Land Is Your Land." Bernie didn't need much convincing once he was there. He was exactly the type the Russians had used as viral carriers of their destructive propaganda for the last 25 years. Bernie swallowed their narrative hook, line, and sinker and returned home to proselytize this same propaganda to the sympathetic American media and educational establishment. They, in turn, pushed these KGB-crafted lies into the mushy minds of America's youth, and the cycle of Soviet subversion continued.
When we were in Moscow, for example, I think most of the people here also were extremely impressed by their public transportation system. The stations themselves were absolutely beautiful, including many works of art, chandeliers that were beautiful. It was a very, very effective system.
This elected U.S. official is so dense, or so badly wants to subvert the United States into a tyrannical state socialist society, that he rejects the obvious. Big shocker, I know. He rejects that what he saw is exactly and only what the Russians wanted him to see.
Many guests from various countries, in this particular case from Asia and Africa, were taken by me for a tour across Siberia, for example. We would show them typical kindergarten, you see, nothing special by American standards, just nice children sitting, eating their breakfast or lunch. What they could not understand, or they pretended not to understand, that this is an exemplary kindergarten. This is not the kindergarten for average person or average family in USSR. And we maintain that illusion in their minds. You can see myself under the red spot in the middle there, with the same business-like expression. I'm doing my job. That's what I'm assigned to do, and that's what I was paid to do. But deep inside, I still hope that at least some of these useful idiots would understand that what they are looking at has nothing to do with the level of affluence in my nation.
Useful idiots.
Also, I was impressed by the youth programs that they have, their palaces of culture for the young people, a whole variety of programs for young people, and cultural programs which go far beyond what we do in this country.
This is a better picture which reflects the true spirit of the Soviet childhood. This picture was printed in a Canadian government publication by mistake. In the middle, you can see children playing on a small courtyard, and the caption goes, "This is a typical kindergarten in Siberia." What these idiots didn't understand, that it is not kindergarten at all. It is a prison for children of political prisoners. But there was not a single mentioning that what they were visiting actually was an area of concentration camps.
We went to a theater in Yaroslavl, which was absolutely beautiful, had 3 separate stages where cultural programs are put on by professional actors and actresses, including a puppeteer area. And the cost, the highest price of the ticket that you can get, was the equivalent of $1.50.
I would say they are dishonest people who lack integrity and common sense and intellectual honesty. They bring back all kinds of stories like that. A kindergarten in Siberia. Omitting the most important fact, it's a prison for children of political prisoners.
Bernie Sanders went on to become a senator and run for president, all the while speaking to disaffected, uninspired youth and convincing them that socialism is the answer to their angst. He installed his wife as president of Burlington College.
We were astounded with the openness, the optimism, the enthusiasm.
She went on to destroy it and is currently being investigated by the FBI for corruption during her tenure. As for Bernie Sanders, he likes capitalism as long as he is the one making the money.
Now, you raised the issue, I am a millionaire. Well, actually, this year we had $560,000 in income. And that's a lot of money. And that money, in my case, my wife's case, it came from a book that I wrote. Pretty good book. You might want to read it. It was a bestseller. It sold all over the world, and we made money. So if anyone thinks that I should apologize for writing a best-selling book, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it.
So, millionaire Bernie Sanders believes in keeping the fruits of his labor. He just doesn't believe in you keeping the fruits of your labor. And all the useful idiots applaud. Yuri Bezmenov had some parting words from 1983.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to tell you that it has to be stopped unless you want to end up in Gulag system and enjoy all the advantages of socialist equality. Working for free, catching fleas on your body, sleeping on the planks of plywood in in Alaska this time, I guess. That's where Americans will belong, unless they will wake up.
That's real. It's really hard to have a frame of reference when you live how Americans have for the past my entire lifetime. But our poor are rich. Our poor have cell phones. Our poor have heat, a refrigerator, air conditioning, a roof over their head, running water. Our poor have PlayStations. We are rich by the world's standards. We are all unbelievably lucky. But that doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way. Communism and socialism have destroyed more lives in the last 100 years than any other ideology. There's a link in the description for the full Yuri Bezmenov interview. If you haven't seen it yet, I cannot recommend it highly enough. From 1983, it perfectly describes the future that we are currently in. As for me, I'm convinced that anyone who doesn't subscribe to this channel is a commie. The world according to Tony.